What's going on, people? Today I am back again, and I thought I'd do something different. I thought I'd look back at some of the older drawings I did, because I started drawing on YouTube now for about 7 months ago, and so I thought it'd be interesting to just look back at some of the older drawings and see, what I was thinking at the time, what I was going through, and blah blah blah, to see the progress realistically. And I think it would definitely help me to look back at some of these older drawings and see some of the mistakes I was making, and maybe I can apply that to something I'm doing now. But overall, I think it's gonna be quite interesting for both you and me. At least I hope it's gonna be for you. But let's just get into it. So before I critique this drawing real quick, right? Yeah, I want to just talk about something really fast. Before I started drawing my own poses and things like that, I would draw. Back in the day, this is like 15, 17 years ago. I would draw or just copy images, not trace, just copy images of like Dragon Ball Z characters and so forth. But I wasn't creating my own images. Now, when I came into this, I didn't immediately go in to start practicing how to draw heads and how to draw hands and how to draw faces and eyes and legs and arms and so forth, right? I immediately kind of went into just drawing full body images or half body images or whatever else I can get away with. And part of the reason I did that is because I practicing those kind of things, I just found it frustrating, and so I didn't do it for the most part. Now that's to my detriment, by the way, because I reckon I could have progressed a little bit more than I have done if I had practiced those things. But the benefit of me going straight into the full body work is that I can see a full image and look at the mistakes I've made. I can see exactly where I've gone wrong, because I can compare this drawing with the Chun-Li drawing. Obviously you guys can look at this and go, this is like the artwork of someone who's just beginning, and you're absolutely correct. It's not very good from my standards now. If I were to draw this now, I'd be very disappointed. And that's because I didn't have a lot of the basics down, the fundamentals you need to learn in terms of drawing hands and what I just mentioned a minute ago. And I just went straight into drawing full body things, and I didn't understand how hands needed to look in a certain position. I didn't understand how the heads, how a head was supposed to look in a certain position. I didn't understand how to draw eyes. While I was using reference, it still wasn't clear. And so this was like my very beginning, and yeah, it's quite interesting to look at now. It's funny because when I was learning to draw poses, right, in the very beginning, one of the things that I was taught, this is based on a very basic YouTube tutorial, right, is to draw basically like the torso like this, then draw the waist, then come in and draw the legs or the thighs up to the knees here. We draw a circle for the joints, and I ain't got any space for the feet, but there you go. The calf muscles, another circle for the shoulder, going into the bicep and triceps, going into the forearm, going into the hands, and continuing on like that. When I was doing it this way, it's difficult to take this arm, for example, and put it straight, so it's straight at the angle you're aiming for. And so when I was doing it this way, I didn't understand how to take an arm and turn it for the angle I wanted to. I didn't understand how to do that for legs really either. And so one of the things that massively helped with me was I watched a YouTube video of Todd McFarlane, who was one of the original drawers on the Spider-Man comics back in the 80s, I think, as well. And this is a YouTube video, and he was just drawing Spider-Man, and he was like, if you want to draw Spider-Man, just come in and just maybe draw, maybe the feet are up here, right, like this. And then it's kind of like, rather than thinking about building the foundation or the framework of the image by drawing the body first and thinking about all of that, because taking an image from your mind and then immediately putting it on paper when you're in the beginning phase is difficult. At least to me it was anyway. But forgetting all of that and just going straight into drawing where the feet are, or drawing where the what's them are. Now, of course, I'm drawing the feet here because this is the closest thing to the angle or to the camera or to you. So yeah, he would say draw the feet here, and if the feet are like this, then maybe the legs back here, with the kneecap here. and then you can start building backwards like this. And then of course, if the legs back here, then you have the waist here somewhere. Maybe the other legs back here like this. Maybe it's bending backwards, and before you know it, you're starting to build something that looks workable. That you can just start pushing and pulling things and things like that. And that really helped me to kind of understand how to draw things without having to really worry about the framework initially. And then later on, once I understand how to draw things and arms and things like that, I can start working on the framework. And that's what happened here with the Hulk drawing. But again, it's still very, very basic early on. It's not a very good Hulk drawing. It's okay, but it's not very good. The lighting's off and whatnot. This hand looks like it's falling off the arm. It's not a very good drawing, but yeah, that is the beginning. Okay, so this is the inking era. This is when I started to look at some YouTube videos. Ryan Benjamin on YouTube was one of the main ones I was looking at, and obviously he would have some really cool artwork, and I would look at, and really cool inking, and I would look at it and go, man, I really want to apply that to my drawings. The issue is that I did not understand. I didn't understand shapes. I didn't understand lighting or where the light would be in uncertain shapes. And so a lot of the time when you're looking at like the head, for example, it's just really off. You can just see it's off. Even if you're not that good at drawing, you can see that this head, in terms of the inking side of things, the black parts, don't look right. I can see it doesn't look right at all. Even the shoulder here doesn't look right. And another thing as well that I wasn't doing at the time was like doubling up some of the lines. Some of these lines, they look very thick, and if you just throw a line, like, let me go back to black. If you just throw a line like this, it can allow the image to kind of like breathe a little bit more. And I wasn't doing that in the beginning, of course, very early days, and it looks like a huge block of ink, you know, rather than it being very delicate and artistic. It's just like a huge block of ink on this drawing. And so that was me in the early stages of inking. It looks very messy, I know, but yeah, trust me, it gets better later on. Now this was the first image I drew where I was really proud of what I had created, and I started to flirt around with some of the things on this image. So I started to flirt around with some things like inking some of the details of the muscle that you can see here, you know, just lightly inking the details of the muscle of the shoulder right here, and inking some of the details on the leg here, on the thigh, because there's so many muscles in the thigh area here. There's a few here, there's one here, like that, and so forth. And while it's not the style I lean towards nowadays, it was me trying to kind of find out how to make it look consistent and how to make it look decent at the very least compared to my Wolverine drawing. Now this was a few weeks, maybe a month even, after my Wolverine drawing, but it was still me learning in the early phases of inking and finding out, and cross section as well, finding out how to get it to look consistent. But even here, I can see that it's not flush, it's not complete, it's not great in some areas, especially the shoulder here. Some of the lines are a little bit shaky, but overall, and creating my own Ninja Turtle as well is just really cool, right? So yeah, and so I like it a lot. I like the weapon, all of that stuff. Really cool. So yeah, so now we are in the Clip Studio arc. Now the software I was using before was Krita, and Krita is decent, but it doesn't have anywhere near the amount of tools that Clip Studio has. And growing in my artistry, growing in my ability to draw, growing in confidence even, I think jumping into Clip Studio now really kind of helped to solidify some of my techniques, and I think you can see it here. Just things like cross hatching on this piece is just so good in some areas. I've already talked about this image before, so I don't want to talk about it again. But even like the way I spaced out some of the inking, rather than having like really one solid block. There's my pen. I have it in really one solid block where it's just colored out and whatnot, like this space between it, you know, and it just kind of brings it to life more. And so because of that, I like the way it looks, and you can see that especially on the underpants here. Second, yeah, you can see it especially on the underpants here as well. You can see how, because it's nice and spaced out, you can tell that that's some type of material that's kind of loose. And so I like that quite a bit. The inking as well is just really good on the body side of things. Still struggling though in the early stages of inking like really like fluid materials like capes and baggy jumpers or whatever. Still struggling with that. In some areas it doesn't look too bad, and because it's really dark as well, I can kind of get away with it. But it's still not great in some areas. But still, this is a really good step in working on Clip Studio for the first time. And just before I move on, I want to talk about how I started to kind of mess around with highlighting some of these areas here in white. You can see here, because when you're doing a really dark image, I felt like some areas were getting lost in the clash of the colors, because you know, when you're going from black to black, some edges can get lost, so outlining them in white really helps. So I started to mess around with that, and I think it overall looks really clean. Now you can see the difference between my original Wolverine drawing and this one. While some of the inking is still not really on point to me, like this kind of shoulder here, it's kind of lazily done. And the reason why I didn't really care too much about it was because it's on the side, you're not really going to see it too much. But overall though, it's just a really clean piece. Really clean. Not much inking going on, but a fair bit of cross section, as you can see here. Not much though. And with this one, I was a lot more patient with the line work. You know, I started to become a little more patient with the line work and make sure that, you know, because anything shaky, when the lines are shaky, you can start to notice it. And whereas when it's really clean, you can really notice the difference. One of the persons actually noted to me in the video, in the short about this drawing, was that some of the lines could have been thicker to showcase some of the shading in certain areas, or some of the darker parts of the drawing. But yeah, apart from that, I really like this one. And I also started to kind of use references to help me understand how to shade the face. And because of that, now I'm starting to understand how to do it, and it's coming across, I think, in my drawings overall. So I like it quite a bit, this one. And this drawing here is the one you guys haven't seen yet. This is obviously Spawn, and yeah, I think this is probably one of my better pieces. I have done one recently that's really cool that you guys will see very soon, but this one is like, it stands out as, to me, as like a marked improvement on my previous drawings that you've seen in this video, and some of the ones that you've seen on my channel already. And I think it just showcases the growth. Now there's still some issues here and there where I was trying to ink the cape here, but I didn't really know how to get it to look right. And so because of that, some areas are still a bit shaky here and there in terms of the inking on the cape. The inking on the clothing though, on the suit overall, is pretty solid. Although you can't see it too much, but it is pretty solid. Yeah, one of the things I also chose not to do in this one, where I've done in the past, is I chose not to ink the white areas here that you can see all here, and even the mask as well. I chose not to ink it, and instead I chose to use the cross section to use that as like the gray areas. And I think overall it makes the piece look more complete, because if I was to go immediately into black and follow some of the cross section, follow some of the inking here, you can see it kind of incompletes the whole image. It's kind of an eyesore, and this was some of the things I was doing before on my other drawings that maybe you didn't even notice, but I can definitely see the difference between this one and the previous one. And because of that, I think overall it's a really nice drawing. So yeah guys, that is my growth in 7 months time. This is what I've been able to draw, from all the way back from Chun-Li all the way to Spawn. and many more things. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It's a different one. I thought, you know, a recap of the last 7 months would be pretty cool to go over. And yeah, I really like it. So I really enjoyed making the video. And listen, I got some really cool things in the pipeline, so I hope you guys subscribe and pay attention and stay tuned. And I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Bye.